Simplifying, totally radical, man, totally radical. All right, so we're simplifying radicals. We're simplifying square roots. Let's do one of them. I think you guys have done these before. So the rules are, is it's going to say this kind of wording, simplify. Simplify. That's what it'll say. And then we're going to do A. A is written on the top of your sheet because I wanted to give you something to go by. So you can put them in your notes or you can put them on the top of your sheet. To be honest with you, I'd rather you put them in your notes because then they're all in one place. The square root of 18. Now I'm gonna show you that there's lots of ways to do these problems, but there is one particular way that we're always going to try and get if we can. Do you know of two numbers that multiply to be 18? Okay, let's try 6 and 3. That's the one originally that I was looking for. 6 and 3. So 18 is the square root of 6 times the square root of 3. Let me just make sure of that, and I'll show you how. Okay? So here's the calculator. Now, for those of you wondering where the square root button, does anybody know where it is? It's right there. It's right over here next to the squared button. Okay, so the square root of 18 is, now tell me about this. What kind of number is that? Does it have a pattern to it? Juan, you're the man. It is irrational. Irrational means it has no pattern and it never ends. The only reason it stopped is because the computer got tired of calculating and just said, you know what, we're cutting this thing off at like 8 units, 8 digits. You okay with that? Now watch, check this out. Let's see if radical 6, got to close the parenthesis, times radical 3 is the same thing. Is it the same thing? Yeah. So you could trade radical 18 in for radical 6 times radical 3, right? Okay. So here we go. So let me just erase this for a second. Let me show you what I mean. The square root of 18 is equal to the square root of 6 times the square root of 3. Now, you know something about square roots. There are certain square roots that can be broken down. Like, what is the square root of 4? What is the square root of 9? What is the square root of 16?
4.
What is the square root of 25? What is the square root of 36? What is the square root of 49? How about the square root of 64? The square root of 81? How about what's the square root of 100? How about the square root of 121? What's the square root of 144? I'm not going to lie, you might want to know these. These are perfect squares. You see them all? 169, but you knew this, right? You've done that before. Now watch this. Now watch what I mean by this. Do you see all these guys? These are going to be the tricks. You will have to know these in your head. Maybe we'll have a game we'll play. Okay? What's up? Put it in what? Put it in pause. So here brings up the interesting fact. So all of these things have square roots that break down. But you agree there are some other numbers that don't, right? Like, what happens if you try and take the square root of 5? Can you do it? Does it just stay like that? Let me show you. Let me show you. Watch. So instead of just, if I try to do the square root of 5, look what I would, do you want to write that down?
Not really.
Not really. You know what? I don't want to write it down either. So instead of me writing that down, you know what I'm going to write down? I'm just going to write down that. Never round. Ever. Ever in your lives. Unless I tell you to. You are never rounding. It is never okay unless I tell you to. Okay? Okay. All right. Now let's go back to this. Right? I'm going to erase this. Nice little conversation we had. Do you know of any other numbers that might multiply to be the square root of 18? 9 and 2. Good choice, Dean. Square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Does anybody not believe that that multiplies to be the square root of 18 or is the same? Let's just check and make sure. Watch this. Let's just check and make sure. Square root of 18 and then square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Oh, boo. Boo. Whatever. Boo. Calculator. Square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Is it the same? Now, if it's not the same, then you chose poorly. Okay. Do you see any one of these square roots that could break down? What's the square root of 9? So really, what we have here is 3 times the square root of 2. And that's how you always want to try and choose the numbers. You want to choose one of them so that they always break down, so that it always breaks down. Now, you're not really going to see it written like this with that dot in the middle. You know how you're going to see it written? 3 rad 2. They're just going to put them right next to each other. And that is our answer that we're looking for. That's the one we want. We want the one that gets broken down. Why? Ah, it's a good question, buddy. Because the square root, how much is the square root of 9? That's it. The square root of 9 is 3. The reason for that is that 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 is a perfect square. But when you see that little symbol up over here, okay, and you take the square root of it, take away the symbol and put what is the square root of 9. Don't keep the symbols on, okay? All right, let's play again. These are easy, by the way. There isn't a lot of work compared to it. Let's do B. Let's do B. What happens when we put numbers in the front? Okay, it does. Let me show you what that's crazy. This is the same thing as me saying 4 times radical 50. Okay, that's what that is. When you see numbers in the front, it just means times. Now, can you think of some two numbers that multiply to be 50? 5 and 10. That is true. The problem is that can you take the square root of any one of those numbers? So can you think of some other numbers that multiplied? Ah, that's the good one I'm looking for. That is the good one that I'm looking for. 25 and 2. So the square root of 50 is the square root of 25 times the square root of 2. And what is the square root of 25? So 25 is, square root of 25 is 5, and that's times 2. And now we're just going to keep simplifying it down, right? What's 4 times 5? So that's 20 times 2. And then finally, you're going to write it all out like this, 20 square root of 2. And some people can move faster than me and don't need to show 4 steps, but that's the answer I'm looking for. No calculator, piece of cake. Ay, ay, ay. Sometimes, there are some times when we can throw numbers out of it. What's up? Would that make it better for you? You could write it down as 0.5 if you wanted to. That's cool. 0.5 is the same thing as a half. I think for me, I like a half. You hate fractions? Okay, okay. Here's the problem when you convert it into a decimal, right? Some things are nice, easy decimals to convert. Watch even further. If you try and convert a half into 0.5, then it's like 0.5, and then you're going to have another dot. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of dots. And if you accidentally put one dot like in the wrong spot, you're going to get all confused. So I'm just going to keep it as a half for right now. Do you know of any numbers that happen to multiply to be 48? Ah, 6 and 8. And that brings up a great point. Watch. 1/2 times 8 times 6. So I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this, and then we're going to give you a little bit of homework, and then we're done. Okay. And then we're going to practice again tomorrow. Now, suppose you choose something like this. Then here's what you can do. Check this out. You can break them down further. Hopefully you get something that matches. Like, what's the square root of 8? Do you know anything that multiplies to be 8? 4 and 2. 4 and 2, square root of 4 times the square root of 2. That's 8. And how about 6? What's the square root of 6? 3 and 2. You could multiply the square root of 6 I'm sorry, you could break 6 down into the, whoops, whoa, into the square root of 3 times the square root of 2. You all right with that? Okay, all right. Now check this out. Of all those numbers in the square roots, do you see any one of them that could break down? You got 4, 2, 3, 2. Do you see any one of them that could break down? Only the 4. Only the 4. Now, this is the long way about going the problem. You could break down only the 4, so that's going to be a half. What's the square root of 4? 2 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 2. What's up? Not to add them up. You can multiply them up. Yeah. So let's see if this is helping us out. Let's see if this is helping us out. So a half times 2. That's going to be 1. What's 2 times 3 times 2? 12? And we're done, right? No. Because here's the problem. 12 could break down. Give me two numbers that beyond 6 and 2. None of those break down. 4 and 3. So the square root of 12 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. And you could break 4 down into 2 times 3. And so ultimately in the end, we get 2 square root of 3. Is that a lot of work? That is a crazy amount of work. But you see how I went about doing it? Okay? Now, oh, the 1, anything times 1 is itself. That's a good question. Now let me show you the shortcut. Yeah. Does anybody need a minute more to keep copying? You need another minute? Okay. So we're gonna do the same problem again. Same problem again, but I'm just gonna choose 2 different numbers. Do you know of anything else that happens to multiply to be 48? Let me show you. It's 16 and 3. A lot of you didn't know that, but that's why if you know your multiplication tables, you can take a shortcut. You see, what is the square root of 16? 4? Exactly. And so there it is. So much faster. So here's the key. You always want to find the largest perfect square that divides into that number. If you start with smaller numbers, it's going to mean more work. Okay? Sometimes it's easy to find them, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just have to sit there and play around with your calculator. That is totally normal. Totally normal. And we're going to be practicing radicals for at least 2 days. Let me give you your homework. Your homework for tonight is every problem on this page. Just kidding. Just kidding. Psych. Do people say that anymore? Oh, okay. All right. 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. That's it. 5 problems. You can do it. You can do it.